him out when it's time for bed.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, so Mike the Nonce has been edited again. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Nonce? I don't know. That's not a United States prison slang. That's an EU prison slang. I think it's pronounced nonce. Nonce. But he has been pestering the shit out of me. He says I haven't been pestering the shit. Yeah. You can go and look at the previous videos I've done on him, and it's like the comment section in there has like between two different videos, well over 100 comments from you, Mike. Well over. So whatever though. I don't care about that. I'm just saying, like, when I say that you're pestering, you literally are pestering. So I want to get into this. This is what a message that I had sent to Mike the Nonce, and I will play that for you now.
You are wanting me to capitulate to the idea that quote-unquote adult child sex is okay. Even you admitted there's risks involved in such a thing. You want me to capitulate to the idea that quote-unquote adult child sex has no negative ramifications, which there's medical records that say otherwise. You are wanting me to discredit the neurological, psychological, medical, and criminology stance and pedestal only data that supports your position. Look, I know it's involuntary, but there's a good reason why it's still classified as a mental health issue by the MS document. One of the citations you gave, the one about societal influence, said in the document that they do not condone or dismiss the negative impact of quote-unquote adult child sex. What the article was going over was a flaw in the psychological treatment for victims of sexual exploitation at a young age. Today, psychologists are not allowed to impose ideas as to what happened, as that can create false memories. It does not bolster your claim as you think it does. Looking at criminology is where pedophiles get really interesting, as they exhibit the exact same patterns. These patterns are almost, if not exactly the same as someone with personality or antisocial disorder, sociopathy or psychopathy. I do not doubt your intelligence, but you're using your intelligence to rationalize dysfunction. In fact, you continuously spatting this stuff at me furthers what psychologists and criminologists, as well as neurologists, have come to find. One of the trends we see in the behavior of people who are attracted to minors is a blatant desire for control. They are usually into other sex acts such as BDSM, bestiality, and necrophilia. They start off with a desire and express desire for the act, like writing, fantasy blogs, which I linked some of those. Actually, I gave a lot of links to your citations in both of my videos. To your citations, Mr. Michael. To yours, not mine. To yours. And some of those were blogs. Then that becomes not enough. They seek out the porn. Then that becomes not enough, so they seek out the act. If unchecked or unhalted, they will eventually become so aggressive towards their victims, romantic partners, air quotes. It eventually leads to the death of a child. When chemical castration is given, just like any other sociopath, they will resort to other means of penetrating their victims. Love affairs. Just as in the case of rape, this is not considered a sex act, but an act of violence. The above course of action mirrors the exact behavior of a sociopath. They are usually very manipulative in trying not only to rationalize their behavior to themselves, but to others as well, playing into their desire for control and domination of others just like a sociopath. They express no remorse or empathy or sympathy towards their victims. Lovers, with air quotes. Just like a sociopath. Neurology has found a ton of gray matter in their brains, just like a sociopath. They display their crimes and victims, actions and lovers, like a monument to their accomplishments, just like a sociopath. While most have a preference towards one gender, like bi, straight, or homo, usually when it comes to their desire towards children, they somehow become less picky. They tend to be more interested in an age bracket rather than the actual sex or gender of the child. The fact that you keep on keeping on comes right from the Handbook of Criminology Studies. It's like you can't and won't accept that this is indeed a criminal activity for a damn good reason. Now, just like all other sociopaths, not all of them will act on their impulse. This comes with psychological treatment and self-control and discipline. The thing with your whole "but society," and this is like, quote, "but society teaches them it's wrong, therefore they see themselves as victims," end quote. The problem with this is that out of, let's say, 400,000 cases, you could find one that says they didn't feel like a victim. This doesn't quantify the victimization and the various conditions parallel and not parallel to the one case. Of the other 399,999, what they look at, by the way, in science, statistically speaking, this type of variable is considered to be statistically of no relevance. It's statistically of no relevance. The amount of people who feel victimized versus the amount that don't is statistically of no relevance to the scientific community. It means absolutely nothing. What they look at is the manipulative tactics. Again, much like any other sociopath, to convince the child this is acceptable, what is being done onto them. Children are easy targets for this as their brains are still developing and are impressionable and malleable. Look at the case of the young boy who learned how to, quote-unquote, suck dick like a pro by two Australian married men. They recorded various sex acts and did this with other adults as well in their basement, and was sold on the deep web. They sold their videos on the deep web of this child that they trained to have sex. And they would invite other adults. This happened in Australia. You can look this up. This is an actual documented case. By the time they were busted, the child had almost no self-esteem and had several STDs. The police who went over the investigation were shocked and appalled by what these people had taught the boy to do. They, just like you, Mr. Michael, stated that their victim was not a victim, but a part of the family, and was all consensual. The child was actually so psychologically damaged he would probably never have a normal life ever. What was done to him was an absolute atrocity. And just like all other sociopaths, the two men who did this thought nothing was wrong about what they did, showing lack of empathy or sympathy and no remorse, trying to claim that they were the victims and not the child. You will continue to comment because your egotism will not allow you to be submissive in any way. Go ahead, prove me wrong.
All right, so after that, you would think he wouldn't respond. But,
And you didn't disappoint.
what the fuck was that? Like, no. We're not playing Heath Ledger. That is a copyright nightmare waiting to happen, even though it's like a fraction of a second long. And that doesn't count as copyright infringement, as Thunderfoot pointed out. I like that he said that. I didn't know that before. So, get that. Don't play Heath Ledger and the Joker. But he's right. He didn't disappoint. And so now let's take a look at what Mike the Nonce had to say in response.
No, the desire, in quotes, is not an express desire for the act. I suggest you look at the data before you act. Again, some of it is their data, like surveys. But for the most, they cite others' research, and they also do collaborations with researchers and student researchers. They also work with mental health professionals. Guess what, Michael? I have ran over everything I talk about on this matter with psychological professionals. I want you to know that. Okay. And they have the neurological, psychological, and medical stance covered along with other research on IPCE. I'm not a fan of the neurological research I've seen. Well, of course you're not, because it shows that there's more gray matter, suggesting that there's more to do with child pedophiles than there's more to do with them to sociopathy than a sexual orientation, unfortunately, for you. And he has a citation there as well. So I guess I will look that up to make sure that it goes on, not unturned, because he keeps saying that. He keeps saying that I don't use his citations, or don't show his citations. Fine, I'll fucking do it. We'll use subjects from medical centers and claim things such as less white matter, lower IQ, non-right-handedness, history of head injury, and shorter stature. Well, in the studies that I've read, I've not seen anything as ridiculous as IQ, right-handedness, and short stature. Those things are irrelevant. The relevant matter is the gray matter. You're calling less white matter? No, they're finding more gray matter, which is inactive parts of the brain. And that's what they're finding. That's the relevant data. That's what we're looking at. I don't care about their IQ. I don't care if they're right or left-handed. I don't care about their stature. That's stupid. No self-respecting neurologist would take any of that seriously. That's probably something they document for the sake of documenting different aspects to make sure that they've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. They're trying to be thorough. Huh. Yes, it's still classified as a mental health issue by the MS document. You want to link to it. Fine, I'll have to go and look that shit up again, even though it's been ages ago. Well, it hasn't been ages ago. It's like, I don't know. It's just time out of my day. Gotta go and look up this fucking document for you. But there is research that isn't, and also even the DSM says if marked problems are not there, then it's not a disorder. There is even research that show that our 1 in 3 diagnosed of pedophilia may be wrong. And that's probably true. Okay, diagnosis and research of a disorder, archives of sexual behavior. Okay, you're giving me more citations. Okay, then you give me the abstract. This article presents a critical view of the recent controversies concerning the diagnosis of pedophilia in the context of the preparation of the 5th edition of the DSM. The analysis focuses basically on the relationship between pedophilia and the current DSM IVTR's definition of mental disorders. Scholars appear not to share numerous basic assumptions ranging from their underlying ideas about the constituents, a mental disorder, to the role of psychiatry in modern society, including irreconcilable theories about human sexuality, which interfere with reaching any kind of consensus to what the psychiatric status of pedophilia should be. Michael, this is what I'm talking about. You're giving me things, you're giving me citations that don't bolster your claims. What that just said is that they're not sure that they should call it a mental disorder or a mental disease, but they're not saying it isn't either. They're just saying that maybe that's an inadequate title for them. Just because you get it labeled as a sexuality, even if you got that done, it doesn't mean that we are going to legalize this. That's what you need to understand, that psychiatry will still play a role in this, because you are talking about the livelihood and well-being of a child. Okay? We're not playing the trans game. I mean, transgenderism, like people who have gender dysphoria are still listed in the DSM as a mental disorder because of gender dysphoria. You do realize this. Okay, where were we? More forensic than therapeutic, focusing rather on the dangers inherent in the condition of pedophilia, dangerous dysfunction, than on its negative effects for the subject, harmful dysfunction. The apparent necessity of the diagnosis of the pedophilia in the DSM is supported, but the basis for this diagnosis is uncertain. They're saying they don't know what to call it, but they're definitely not going to sit there and say that it's acceptable. Okay, well, you say here what I'm calling fantasy blogs, because they are blogs, are backed up by research. I left the links to those blogs in the first video that I made about you. Okay? Anyone can go in the description and click on any of those links and look at them for themselves. Anyone. I'm not hiding anything, okay? Those links are available. Stable dynamic risk factors in child sexual abusers, the incremental predictive power of narcissistic personality traits beyond the statistics. Okay, I will leave a link to this. Okay, I will leave a link to that in the description below, so people can go and see it for themselves. I'm not hiding anything, Mike. I'm not hiding anything. After you get through all this muck, basically the breakdown that I gave you is what any self-respecting psychologist, neurologist, criminologist, or medical professional is going to tell you. The reason why they will not take it off the DSM and not diagnose it as a mental dysfunction or disorder or whatever, they don't care, because the fact of the matter is that you pose a threat that pedophilia poses a threat to the well-being of children. And that's undeniable even from your own words. Even you said it. You know that this is a reality that you have to face. And don't give me the story about a little girl getting a yeast infection or some kind of infection because a condom got stuck in her. That is ridiculous. That is something that a little child should not have to go through. Do you understand? You, as an adult in any situation, you will be expected as the adult to make the appropriate decisions. Because unlike a child, you are responsible for your actions. You know better. You know. Your cognitive awareness has been built up to a far greater extent than a child's. And you cannot make an argument to tell me that a child has the same cognizance as an adult. You could be meat with eyes and recognize that the cognizance between a child and an adult is different. You don't need to be a psychologist, a neurologist, or a medical professional, or a criminologist to make that observation. It's that obvious to every single motherfucking person alive. So, you know what? You're still like, no, this is not something that's up for debate. It's a criminal activity. It's going to remain to be a criminal activity. And you know what? If all you want is to get rid of the dysfunction or disorder, fine. But it still belongs on the DSM list. And pedophilia is still a threat to children. Even you admitted that. You didn't want to admit it, but you admitted it. And it wasn't a trap question. It's actually a type of argument that was labeled by Socrates. It's called the weak argument wins. And you didn't disappoint even more. Here, I'll leave this one in the description below too. I'll leave this one in the description. I'll leave this one, and I'll leave this one. Okay, so I'll leave all those links that you linked to me in the description so people can go and read about them themselves. So I'm not hiding anything. It's all right here. Look. We'll have to go to another screen.
All right, so that was his response. Now, so he's gone on and on and on about me not giving his citations. So here's a continuation of that, where I actually show the citations in there. And his citations will absolutely be in the description below. So if you want to peruse through them for yourself, and by the way, Mr. Mike, on the other videos I made towards you, I gave your citations in the description. Those are your citations, not mine. They're yours. They're yours. So anyone could feel free to look through those and peruse through those all they want. I didn't hide them from it. They're in the descriptions of the video. The links are there. They're there. Let's have a look though at his citations, shall we?
All right, so here we go. Here's one that you're giving. Here's the abstract. A group of hands on child sexual abusers were diagnosed according to DSM IVR criteria within a routinely performed risk assessment process in the Austrian prison system. ACT trials showed moderate to good predictive accuracy and a combination of statistic and stable risk factors. Significantly improved, static 99 and stable 2007, significantly improved the predictive power of sexual reoffense. Okay, so they're saying that they have significantly improved their ability to predict what child molesters are going to do. In addition, the clinical diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. Personality disorder, you know what that is? That's sociopathy. Significantly added incremental validity. Do I need to go on? Here's your other one. Decoding pedophilia increased Anterior Insula response to infant animal pictures. Some men experience sexual attraction to prepubescent children or to children early stages of puberty. This condition is called pedophilia. No shit. While a number of accompanying neurological and neurofunctional aspects of pedophilia were uncovered in recent years. Oh my god, look at that. What did I just fucking say? What did I say? I'm the first thing to you. Here's the before you act thing that you wanted me to read. Pedophile has long been recognized as a sexual attraction to children. She defined it as such and leave it at that. However, paints an overlay simplistic portrait of minor attraction. For many maps, the desire to befriend or be in a romantic relationship with children can be important as their sexual attraction. Preliminary evidence shows that the brains of pedophilic men activate no differently from non-pedophilic men given their preferred sexual stimulus. Okay, this is saying that it's an involuntary thing. Again, I have acknowledged that it's involuntary. But to say that your sexual gratification takes precedence over a child's safety is bullshit. It's bullshit. Because I'm going to tell you something. No one is entitled to sex. No one is. No one's entitled to sex. If no one wants to fuck you, then you're not going to get laid. You do not have the right to rape somebody. You don't. No one is entitled to sex. You are not entitled to it. So I don't give a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck that this is part of your quote-unquote attractive, no differently. Okay, that is important to your sexual attraction. Nobody gives a fuck. We're talking about the safety and livelihood of children. You're not entitled to sex. I'm sorry. You're not. You're not. Trans people are not entitled to sex. Okay? So if somebody says, oh, you got a penis between your legs instead of a vagina, no thanks. Guess what? There's nothing they can do. Nothing. You're not entitled to sex. If they got a vagina instead of a penis, whatever way it wants to go, you're not entitled to sex. If I'm attracted to a straight guy, guess what? I'm not entitled to sex. It doesn't matter. I can't do anything. Doesn't matter how attracted I am to that heterosexual male. I can't do anything. I can't. I'm not entitled. Legalizing child pornography is linked to lower rates of child sex abuse. That is complete bullshit. Oh, this is from the Czech Republic? Oh my goodness. I'm totally into this. This has got to be like, are you fucking serious? Okay. Yeah, the results are from the Czech Republic. It says that it was from the University of Hawaii and colleagues and seen everywhere else studied: Canada, Kyoto, Denmark, Germany, Finland, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sweden, USA. That rape and other sex crimes have not increased following the legalization and wide availability of pornography. And most significantly, the incidence of child sex abuse has fallen considerably since 1989. Child pornography became readily accessible. Phenomenon. Okay, no. No. See, because if there's child pornography, then that means that a child has been sexually abused. Okay? No. And go and look at the Criminality studies. You're going to see a completely different thing. Completely different. They're saying, oh, because it became readily available and because there's not as many children being raped now as there was back in the 80s, then that must be because of, the illegal access to child pornography because of the internet. Bull fucking shit. Bullshit. Okay, then you also have the University of Hawaii. Pornography and sex crimes in the Czech Republic. Why are we using the Czech Republic? Jesus, fuck all. Pornography continues to be, and they just say pornography, they don't say child pornography, just as pornography. That kind of makes me a little wary. Continues to be a continuous matter, with those on one side arguing it detrimental to society, while others argue it is pleasurable to many and a feature of free speech. No. Having sex with a child is not a feature of free speech. The advent of the internet, with their ready availability of sexually explicit materials, they're just talking about pornography in general, which I don't know if you happen to notice, but over in the EU, let me tell you something about the EU. They consider manga and manga to be child pornography. Animated porn is considered to be child pornography in the EU. I didn't know if you knew that, but now you know that. They're talking about Playboy magazine right here in the introduction. They're saying the introduction of pornography in general has been sexually helpful to males. They're not talking about fucking child pornography. What the fuck? Fuck the Czech Republic. So there you go. I've showed your citations. I've showed the things that you show do not bolster your claims as you think they do. They don't. Okay.
So what have we learned from this, Mike? Well, we've learned that you exhibit the same kind of symptoms and patterns as a sociopath. you have some elements to them, to exhibiting antisocial or personality disorder. I'm not a licensed psychologist to clinically diagnose that, but you do have some symptoms of it. So that's one thing that we've learned. Another thing that we've learned is, like I've been telling you, the citations that you've been giving are peeing on your own feet. They're not exactly bolstering your argument. And they're aspects to different things that people are pointing out, saying like, hey, we need to refine how we do things. They're not saying that you're right, that we should just legalize pedophilia. Fuck it, why not? And I don't think that's what you're saying, Mike, is it? You're not saying we should legalize pedophilia, but and you say that, and then you talk about it like we should. And there's a problem with that. So no, we're not going to be legalizing pedophilia. That's not happening. It's not happening. You're talking about the well-being of another person and being detrimental to their well-being. So no, we're not doing that. It's not going to happen. Okay? It's not going to happen. So we're not talking about two consenting adults. We're not talking about that. And then you're going to bring up hebephilia. And it's like, well, pedophilia and hebephilia are different. I don't know why you're putting them in the same category. And even then, there's questions to be had before we embark down that slippery slope. So, I told you I was just going to take a break, that I would get back to you. And I have to take a break from it. I can mentally stand this, but you have to understand. Some of the people that are subscribed to my channel are victims of molestation. And this is triggering to them, and not in the way that SJWs use the word trigger most of the time. Like, you know, it's like, oh my god, they're referring to trans things in a way that makes me uncomfortable. No. This is like PTSD triggering, like the legitimate definition of trigger. So I have to, like, I can't produce a lot of this content because it's very, very hard and traumatic for those who have been molested as children. Okay, do you understand? I'm going to make another video on this topic, and then I'm probably going to put it down for a while, like a long while. So after I make one more video, I'm going to say that I am done with this debate for at least another year. I have basically an entire video series debunking pedophiles at this point, to which they have been backed up by people from academia and people from different STEM science researches. They have found my videos, they have seen them, and I have actually even reached out to people who are psychologists, neurologists, medical professionals, criminologists, and asked them to review them and asked them, am I correct in what I am saying? And they have absolutely said, yes, this is the accepted way that we view these things. So, you know, you say that you have a neurologist or psychologist or whatever in your corner. Well, I have those too. And the thing is that the norm is what I am saying, is that it is not an acceptable behavior. Maybe it's not a dysfunction, if you will, but it kind of is. That's what neurology is teaching us, it is a dysfunction. So I'm sorry you don't like that. I'm sorry that the facts make pedophiles to be, well, I'm sorry, but not sorry, really. Pedophilia is a dysfunction. There is a tremendous amount of gray matter in their brain, which is the same thing that you will find in a sociopath or psychopath, someone with antisocial or personality disorder. So when we look in the brains of someone, let's say, that's a homosexual, that is not the case. They have normal brain activity that we see in a normal functioning brain. Until you get to sexual stimulus, then for some reason they seem to be, their brains respond to sexual stimulus that is of the same gender, rather than the opposite gender. That is the only difference between a homosexual brain and a heterosexual brain. But when it comes to sociopathy and psychopathy, antisocial disorder and personality disorder, there is a very significant brain pattern that they look for in neurology, and pedophiles have it. I think it's not 10 out of 10, it might be like 3 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, but we're still seeing a trend here. So with that, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Mike, you can comment away, but again, I might be reluctant to actually respond. But yeah, leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. And with that, I'm out. Actually, before I go, I just want to say, I was thinking recently, this being a Gothic channel and all, I should have gotten like a fake gun, and instead of being like, I'm out, being like, goodbye, cruel world, and pretending to blow my brains out. I think that would be an excellent outro. But I don't have a fake gun or even a real one or anything like that. There is a reason why, and C.R. Williams knows that reason. Why I do not have, like, people who know me know why I do not have a gun. It is not because of some libtard agenda of whatever. It's there is a legitimate reason I do not own a gun. A legitimate one. A pretty good one. But with that, I'm out.